There are moments in life when everything around you is screaming. Noise, chaos, urgency, but inside there is only silence. A strange kind of silence. Deep, almost haunting. It's not the silence of peace, but the silence of something forgotten, something sacred. It's a silence that cannot be ignored because it echoes not from the world outside, but from the very core of your soul. Have you ever heard it? That whisper, gentle yet fierce, that dares to ask, "What are you doing with your life?" It's not the noise of deadlines, responsibilities, or the opinions of others telling you what you should be, what you should want, what you should strive for. Number this voice comes from somewhere much older, much wiser. It is the voice of your true self, the self you've silenced for years, maybe decades. We spend our lives chasing after other people's dreams, trying to be accepted, validated, applauded. We shape ourselves to fit molds that were never made for us. We become what others want us to be, slowly drifting further and further away from what we really are. And then one day, without knowing exactly when it happened, you wake up feeling empty. Not in the sense of lacking things, but a deeper emptiness. Outwardly, you may seem fine, full even, but inwardly, something is missing. Carl Jung once said that the greatest problem of modern man is that he has lost connection with his soul. And this disconnection doesn't happen all at once. It's not a sudden event. It's a slow bleeding of the spirit. Drop by drop, day after day. Every time you choose to be liked instead of being honest. Every time you drown yourself in noise to avoid your own silence. Every time you postpone your truth just to keep others comfortable. Have you ever felt like you're living someone else's life? As if each day you're just performing in a play you didn't write, speaking lines you didn't choose, like your soul is trapped beneath layers of routines, obligations, polite lies, and carefully crafted masks. And yet, there's something inside you that hasn't died, something that still breathes, even if faintly, something that still dreams, still desires, still longs to remember who you really are. That something is what Jung called the process of individuation, the sacred journey back to yourself. A return to your own center, your inner wholeness. A reunion with the version of you that has been patiently waiting, watching from the shadows, hoping you'd finally come back. You cannot keep spending your life on things that aren't truly yours. You cannot keep avoiding the sacred responsibility of becoming who you were meant to be. You cannot keep silencing that voice inside you, the one begging to awaken. This is not a comforting message. It's not meant to flatter you. It's meant to disturb you, to rattle the fragile structure of your well-behaved ego, to show you that your soul can no longer be held hostage by your fears. Who are you living for? Who are you trying to impress? Why do you fill your days with meaningless tasks, hollow relationships, and empty accomplishments? What are you waiting for to truly look at yourself? Jung wrote that no one becomes enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. And that transformation starts when you stop running from yourself, when you stop numbing your pain with distractions, when you stop giving away your energy to things that don't nourish your spirit. Because the more you run from yourself, the more you become a stranger in your own existence. And life doesn't wait. It slips away silently, without asking permission. But the good news is, you're still in time. Take a moment to really look at yourself, not with your eyes, but with your soul. Watch every gesture, every automatic thought, every decision made just to fit in. Whose life are you living? Does it really belong to you, or is it just a mask carved from fear, and routine. Jung spoke of the persona, the social mask we wear to survive in the world, that acceptable face we show so we can be liked, appreciated, and recognized. The mask has its place. It serves a function. But if you confuse the mask for your identity, it will slowly consume you. How many times have you said yes when your whole being was screaming no? How many times have you smiled outwardly while something inside you was breaking? How many times have you pretended to be strong when all you wanted was to collapse? And how many more times will you betray yourself just to avoid discomfort? The problem isn't the mask itself. The problem is forgetting that it's a mask. The real danger is letting the character devour the actor, letting the fiction replace the essence. We become so busy trying to please, to fit in, to avoid failure, that we no longer stop to ask, does any of this make sense to me? We become slaves to expectations, to obligations, to shoulds and have-tos. And our life turns into a script written by someone else, lines we didn't write, a story we didn't choose. But the soul never forgets. The soul never settles. And even if you bury it under layers of irony, distraction, or denial, it waits, it watches, it remembers. Can you see the cost of belonging at any price? Every day you pretend, a part of you dies. Every time you abandon yourself, your unconscious fills with bitterness, with rage, with silent grief. That shadow, the repressed, disowned part of you, doesn't go away. It transforms into anxiety, into chronic dissatisfaction, into that gnawing feeling of being lost, even when everything looks perfect on the outside. But what if you took off the mask? What if, for just one day, you dared to be entirely, unapologetically yourself? No filters, no fear, no pretending. Who would you be? What would change? It's not easy. Jung never said it was. The journey inward is filled with shadows, with uncomfortable truths, with wounds you've tried to forget. But it's also filled with freedom, with authenticity, with power. Not the power of dominance or success, but the quiet, unshakable power of living in alignment with your soul. Not that superficial kind of power that controls or manipulates others, but the quiet, grounded power that arises from truly knowing yourself, fully, honestly, and without resistance. That kind of power doesn't need to shout or dominate. It simply is. It radiates from within. Your soul has been waiting. Your shadow is tired of being ignored. And you, yes you, already carry within you everything you need to begin again. But not from scratch, from truth. Are you ready to keep looking inward? Because there is no real transformation without dissent, no genuine awakening without first facing the dark corners of your inner world. The darkness within you is not your enemy. It's not something to be feared, suppressed, or eliminated. It's your shadow, the forgotten part of you, the hidden self. And as long as you continue to turn your back on it, it will continue to operate silently, ruling your choices from the background. Carl Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." Take a moment to truly absorb those words. How many times have you wondered why you fall into the same patterns? Why you seem to attract the same kinds of people into your life? Why you keep repeating cycles you swore you'd never repeat again? It's not bad luck. It's not coincidence. It's not destiny. It's the unconscious, the parts of yourself you haven't dared to face, pulling the strings behind the curtain. You haven't truly stepped into the labyrinth of your psyche yet. Maybe you've been running from yourself, afraid of what you might find if you look too deeply. But healing doesn't happen at the surface. It begins in the depths, in the spaces you've tried to hide, even from yourself. You cannot transform your life if you don't have the courage to explore what's been buried in the basement of your mind. The shadow isn't evil. It's the sum of everything you've suppressed to survive. Your instincts, your wounds, your unmet desires, your unspoken rage, your grief, your tenderness. The shadow is the exiled version of you. The parts of yourself you never gave permission to exist. And the more you deny it, the stronger it becomes. It seeps into your relationships, your impulsive choices, your self-sabotage, and that deep, unshakable sense of emptiness. It wears the mask of pride, independence, cynicism, perfectionism, but underneath, it's screaming to be seen, to be acknowledged. There is a part of you longing to be embraced, not judged. A part of you that was never truly loved, that was silenced, shamed, abandoned. That part doesn't want revenge. It wants reconciliation. It wants peace. And that's why the journey back to yourself is never a straight path. It's a spiral, a descent, a conscious decision to walk through the darker chambers of your soul. And yes, it can hurt, but it is also liberating, because what you find in your darkest places is not just pain, but truth. In what's been broken, you find your greatest strength. In what's been denied, you find your gold. You cannot fully be yourself if you don't acknowledge your shadow. You cannot create healthy, conscious relationships if you don't take responsibility for your projections. You will not find peace unless you come to terms with your inner war. This path is not for those who wish to stay numb, who cling to illusions, who are satisfied with superficial answers. This path is for the brave, for those who are tired of sleepwalking through life, for those who are ready to feel deeply, to question everything, to face what they've been avoiding. And you're here for a reason. Something within you is already stirring. Something no longer wants to live according to the old story. You're ready. You may not have all the answers, but the very fact that you're still listening means a part of you has already awakened. The shadow is not the end of the path. It's the threshold. It's the doorway to everything real. And only those who dare to walk through it will ever truly understand who they are, why they're here, and what it means to be whole. So stop running. Stop pretending. Turn inward. Look at your shadow. Listen to what it has to say. And when you're ready, when you truly are, embrace it. Because no one can become whole without embracing their own darkness. And in that union, you will finally discover what it means to be free. You look at the world and think you understand it. You point, judge, admire, condemn. Yet rarely do you realize that what you see out there is merely a reflection of what lives within you. The other is your mirror. Every encounter, every conflict, every emotion that flares up in the presence of someone else is a message from your soul. Carl Jung explained it clearly. We project what we haven't yet recognized in ourselves. What we repress, we see in others. What we deny, we end up hating outside. What we long for, we idealize in someone else. Have you ever felt anger for no clear reason? Instantly disliked someone without a logical cause? Felt jealousy, envy, or fascination? It's not them. It's you. It's your unconscious trying to show you what you still haven't accepted. You project your shadow, your light, your fear, your desire, your unresolved pain. That person who criticizes without mercy, could it be they're showing you something you also carry but can't bear to face? That person you admire with devotion, might they be reflecting dormant qualities in you that you're still afraid to awaken? Every encounter is an opportunity to know yourself more deeply. There are no enemies, only teachers in disguise. No coincidences, only living symbols of the soul, seeking to be heard. But projection also traps you. It keeps you from seeing the other for who they really are. You distort them with your wounds, your emptiness. You turn them into a container for your unhealed traumas. That's how toxic bonds are born. Repetition, disappointment. You wait for the other to fill what you haven't filled yourself. But no one can save you from yourself. Only you can take responsibility for your projections. Only you can withdraw them one by one, like someone slowly clearing a mirror clouded by time. And once you do, you'll begin to see clearly, no longer from judgment, but from understanding, no longer from lack, but from wholeness, no longer from dependence, but from true love. Because everything you see, everything you feel, everything you experience in your relationship with the world speaks of you. It's your soul speaking through the other. It's life whispering that the path outward always begins within. So next time someone stirs a deep emotion in you, pause. Don't react. Observe. Ask yourself, what part of me is being revealed in this mirror? And listen, because the soul doesn't shout, it whispers. There was a time when you knew who you were, not with words or labels, but with the silent certainty of someone who had not yet been tamed. When you were a child, you dreamed without fear. You imagined invisible worlds. Trees spoke, stones glowed, time didn't exist. But then, you were taught to forget. They told you dreaming was a waste of time, that imagining was immature, that feeling too much was weakness, that you had to choose between being accepted and being yourself. And without realizing it, you began burying your soul under tons of logic, duties, and expectations. But the soul never forgets, and when it's denied its voice, it starts to speak another language, the language of dreams. Jung saw dreams as the direct voice of the unconscious. They're not just meaningless images, they're symbols, encrypted messages from the soul, fragments of truth trying to rise to the surface while you sleep. And if you learn to listen, they can lead you back to yourself. Have you dreamed of falling, of being naked in front of others, of animals, of fire? Each symbol has meaning, not universal, but deeply personal. It's your soul speaking in its own language, and if you learn how to decipher it, you'll be able to understand what your conscious mind has forgotten. To dream is not to escape. It is to remember who you were before the wounds, before the fear, before you started adapting. It's about reconnecting with the archetypes that dwell within you. The inner child, the wise one, the hero, the orphan, the destroyer, the lover. They all live in your unconscious, waiting to be awakened. You don't need to reach the top of the world to find yourself. You only need to close your eyes and dare to look within. Because the real journey doesn't take you outward. It takes you into the depths of your soul. But of course, this world doesn't celebrate introspection. It celebrates productivity, appearance, speed. Who has time to dream? Who pauses to listen to what their soul is trying to whisper while they sleep? Only someone who is truly alive. Only someone who is tired of living disconnected. Only someone who understands that peace isn't about having more. It's about remembering more. Don't ignore your dreams. They are lighthouses in the dark. They are your soul, whispering to you, I'm still here. You haven't lost me. And when you listen to them, when you give them space, something within you slowly begins to heal, deeply, silently. Because dreaming is not a distraction. It is a return. Most people live on the edges of themselves, running in circles, chasing goals that were never theirs, clinging to hollow images of success, of love, of happiness. But there is a quiet, insistent voice that repeats from deep within, "Come back to center. Come back to yourself." That calling is the beginning of the journey of individuation, the core of Carl Jung's work. It's not self-help or a modern technique. It's an ancient, sacred, inevitable process. It's the alchemy of the soul. It's the path to wholeness. To individuate is not to become perfect. It is not to become an ideal version of yourself. It's something far more real, more human. It is to recognize your fragmentation and still move toward integration. It is to stop hiding the broken parts and start listening to them. For Jung, to be an individual didn't mean to be selfish. It meant to be indivisible, to be whole, to be one amid the chaos of the world. But to do that, you must walk through fire. You must face your shadow, become aware of your projections, and reconcile your polarities, masculine and feminine, reason and emotion, light and darkness. And that hurts, because it means dying in a symbolic way. It means letting go of the identities you've protected your whole life. It means giving up the safety you found in your masks, your routines, your certainties. Individuation is a death and a rebirth. It's no longer living to please. It's living with purpose. It's no longer obeying without thought. It's listening to your soul. It's leaving behind the external noise to reach the deep silence that reveals who you truly are. But be warned, there is no map for this journey, no formulas, no shortcuts. Every soul has its own path. What works for one may destroy another. That's why the greatest act of respect is to stop imitating and begin exploring your own way. Individuation is not a destination. It is a lifelong process, a dance between the conscious self and the unconscious, between what you know and what you don't yet understand about yourself. And with each step, each fall, each revelation, you come closer to that silent core from which everything makes sense. Not everyone dares. Many prefer the comfort of ignorance, the anesthesia of the known. But you are here, and that means something. Something inside you has already begun this journey. It has already crossed the threshold. It has already said yes to the unknown. And even when you feel lost, there is an inner compass that never fails. Your soul. It remembers. It knows. It leads. Just trust it. Trust your pain, your confusion, your searching. It's all part of the process. Everything has meaning, even if you can't see it yet. Because the soul is never lost, only forgotten. Ready to keep exploring? We live immersed in constant noise. Not only the external kind, but the one we carry inside. Thoughts that won't stop, demands that pile up, other people's voices echoing endlessly, voices you never asked to hear. Amid all that chaos, the soul pulls back. It shrinks, it hides. And yet deep within you, there is a place untouched, a sanctuary where time stands still, where there is no guilt or fear, where you are not required to be anything. You are simply allowed to be. Just be. That place is called silence. Carl Jung understood the power of silence as a gateway to the unconscious, because only when the noise fades do the soul's images begin to rise. It's not about forcing silence as a technique, but about receiving it as revelation. When was the last time you stopped just to do nothing? Not checking your phone, not planning ahead, not replaying the past. Just being with yourself, just breathing, just feeling. That's where the real journey begins. Silence uncovers what noise conceals. It confronts you with yourself, strips you bare, makes you uncomfortable, but it also shows you the essence. It reminds you that you don't need more, only less. Fewer distractions, fewer pretenses, fewer demands imposed by a world that has forgotten how to inhabit itself. And yet, we avoid silence as if it were a threat. We fill it with noise, with hollow conversations, with soulless content. Why? Because silence forces you to see what you've been avoiding: your emptiness, your wounds, your unconscious choices, your unlived truth. But if you dare to stay in that stillness, something magical happens. A new kind of calm emerges, an internal order, not tied to external chaos, a clarity that doesn't rely on words. And in that space, you hear the forgotten voice of your soul. That's when you return to your center and realize the answer you were chasing outside was always within. You don't have to run anymore. You don't have to prove anything. You can simply be. The modern world fears silence because silence reveals. And whoever dares to reveal themselves can no longer be manipulated. They no longer settle. They no longer sell out for comfort or validation. Those who have dwelled in silence have already begun to awaken. And you can sit with yourself without escaping. You can rest in the core of your being and not fear what surfaces. You can embrace the void until you realize it's full. Silence isn't absence, it's absolute presence. We all run from pain. We avoid it, deny it, disguise it. We live numbed out, believing happiness means not feeling what hurts. But what if pain isn't the enemy? What if instead of destroying us, it came to guide us? Jung knew this. The process of transformation is painful because it demands loss. Loss of illusions, loss of false identities, loss of comfort zones built on lies. But in every loss, there is a seed, a crack through which light can enter. Pain is the great initiator. It's the force that stops you in your tracks and makes you look with brutal honesty. It breaks down the ego's walls so the soul has room to rise. Because only when you shatter can you begin to rebuild yourself for real. Have you noticed how the darkest moments are also the most revealing? When everything you thought was secure falls apart. When someone leaves you. When you fail. When the world feels foreign. That's when something deeper awakens. A voice you never heard before. A strength you didn't know you had. Pain, when met with awareness, doesn't imprison. It liberates. But it's not automatic. You can stay trapped in your wound. You can become a victim of your own story, repeating it endlessly as an excuse not to grow. Or you can choose something braver. Face it. Feel it. Then release it. The wound doesn't vanish. It transforms. It stops being a prison and becomes a portal, a doorway into your most real, wise, and integrated self. Many want transformation without walking through the fire. But the soul is not shaped in comfort. The soul awakens when everything else fails, when you fall and decide to rise, not out of pride, but out of self-love, out of reverence for who you are. Suffering isn't a guarantee of growth, but conscious suffering is alchemy. So don't run from your pain anymore. Listen to it. Love it. Ask it. What are you here to teach me? And when you stop seeing it as punishment and begin to see it as guidance, something in you will be reborn. Something essential. Something no external success can give you. Because there is no power more real than the one found in someone who walked through hell and returned with their soul intact. Do you want to keep walking? Not everything that's lost is gone forever. Sometimes what seems to have vanished is merely waiting to be remembered. The soul is like that. It doesn't leave, it doesn't die, It doesn't disappear. It folds inward, patiently waiting for you to call it back. Jung knew this. He understood that all inner work, all descent into the shadow, all integration of the unconscious had a single purpose: to bring back the exiled soul, that essential part of yourself that you abandoned when you began to adapt, to please, to hide your truth. The soul is not an abstract idea. It's your life force, your authentic voice, your sacred compass. When you're connected to it, everything makes sense, even the pain. When you're disconnected, everything becomes noise, emptiness, confusion. And yet, we've normalized living without a soul. We walk like mechanical bodies, soulless routines, soulless relationships, soulless jobs. We've become efficient but absent, productive but disconnected, informed but hollow. Returning to the soul is not a poetic gesture. It's a vital necessity. It takes courage because it means stripping away layers, inherited beliefs, achievements that only decorate a false self. It requires surrender, not as defeat, but as radical honesty. Admitting that you don't know, that you've been asleep, that you need to find yourself again. Where did you leave your soul? When did you start betraying yourself? How many times did you say yes when something inside you screamed no? How much longer will you live split in half? The return of the soul begins with small acts, speaking the truth when you'd rather stay silent, stopping when everything in you wants to run, crying when your mask wants to keep smiling, staying alone when the noise outside tries to pull you away. These are portals. Each one gives you back a fragment of yourself, and little by little, what was forgotten returns. The light in your eyes, the sensitivity, the intuition, the creativity, the desire to live with meaning. Not for others, for you, through you, within you. It won't be easy. Sometimes you'll feel like you're falling back. Sometimes you'll doubt everything. But if you learn to hold yourself from within, you'll discover something no one can take away: your truth. And from that place, from that truth, everything changes. You no longer need to convince anyone. You no longer need to impress. You only need to be. Inhabit yourself. Honor yourself. Breathe deeply where your soul has been reclaimed. Because only those who return to themselves can truly live. We've reached the end, but it's not a closure. It's an opening, a threshold. Because what really ends here is the lie that you're alone, the lie that you're not enough, the lie that you can't change, the lie that your life doesn't matter. This journey wasn't towards something external. It was a descent into yourself, through pain, shadow, mirrors, silence, and inner fire. You've walked through territories most people avoid. You've heard truths others are too afraid to speak. And if you've come this far, it's because something inside you has already awakened. Carl Jung never gave quick solutions. He offered us maps, symbols, and questions. Because the soul doesn't respond to formulas, but to real, embodied, living encounters. And now, you've met yourself. You don't need to do it perfectly. You don't need to have all the answers. You only need to be willing. Willing not to betray yourself again. Willing to stay with yourself even in the storm. Willing to keep searching even when the path isn't clear. Because the soul doesn't demand success. It demands truth. And the truth is, you are so much more than what they told you. You are so much more than you think. Within you is an untouched core, a center from which you can begin again and again. Not from lack, but from awareness. Today, you can choose. You can choose to stop living from who you should be and start living from who you truly are. You have the power to quiet the noise and return to the silence. You have the courage to look your shadows in the eye and no longer fear them. You can stop running. You can come back to yourself. Maybe no one will notice at first. Maybe the world outside won't change, but you will. And that changes everything. Because when one person transforms, they also transform how they see. And when the way we see the world changes, the world itself begins to shift. So if today you feel that subtle tremor in your chest, that flicker of something you can't quite explain, that echo that hums without words, don't ignore it. That's your soul. It's coming back, and with it, the true beginning of your life. Live from that place. Breathe from there. Walk from there. Because this life, this one brief, unrepeatable life that you've been given, is not meant to be wasted anymore. It is now meant to be lived from the soul, from the depth of who you truly are. And that is sacred. If something in this message stirred something within you, if it made you pause or breathe deeper or feel a little more seen, then keep walking this path with me. There's more to uncover. There's more to remember. And if your heart is ready, say it out loud or write it in the silence. I am ready to be reborn. The majority of people don't fail because they lack ability, but because they lack the inner confidence to use what they already possess. They live trapped inside a loop of self-doubt and criticism, like a record that never stops skipping. Imagine this. You're trying to drive with the handbrake on. You move forward, yes, but with constant friction and unnecessary strain. Carl Jung would say that the first task of transformation is to release that inner brake, to stop resisting your own potential and allow your deeper self to take the wheel. What I want today is simple, to show you, step by step, how to silence that inner saboteur and build a genuine belief in yourself. This isn't blind faith. It's conscious training, a deliberate act of awareness. Your mind is a fertile garden, and every thought you plant becomes a seed that will sooner or later grow. If every day you sow insecurity, doubt will take root. But if you sow self-compassion and determination, inner confidence will flourish. Your past, your environment, or your mistakes don't decide the kind of seeds you can plant right now. And that's the good news. You can pull out the weeds of self-sabotage and plant new seeds today without waiting for anyone's approval or a perfect moment that doesn't exist. When I speak of self-trust, I'm not referring to a Sunday motivational quote. I'm talking about turning it into a daily practice, as natural as brushing your teeth. Confidence doesn't appear by accident. It's built, reinforced, and eventually becomes automatic. In this journey, there are no empty theories or cliches to hang on your wall. What you'll find here are clear methods, living metaphors, and practical strategies to reprogram your mind to act, to move forward, to stop postponing your potential. Together, we'll explore essential contrasts: self-love versus destructive self-criticism, decisive action versus paralysis by analysis, emotional independence versus toxic dependence. Recognizing these opposites will help you see where you stand and what subtle shifts you need to make to move toward your highest version. Faith in yourself isn't a luxury. It's a strategic choice that transforms performance and quality of life. Every time you choose a thought, you choose a destiny. It might sound exaggerated, but it's true. Your thoughts shape your emotions drive your decisions, and your decisions create your results. That's why confidence is more than a pleasant feeling. It's the root of every productive action and every lasting achievement. You can't control the world, politics, or circumstances, but you can control the story you tell yourself about what happens to you. It doesn't matter how many times you've failed or how often you've been told you can't. What matters is that you choose to believe from this moment forward. Think of your mind as a program. If you keep running outdated software, you'll face delays, errors, and frustration. But if you install updated beliefs, your system runs smoothly, and you are the programmer. No one else can rewrite your code for you. It's your responsibility and your chance. What's fascinating is that once you change your internal dialogue, your body language transforms. You walk differently, speak differently, and make decisions with greater clarity. And people notice. Opportunities begin to appear because you've become someone who moves through the world with certainty. It's like shifting from static to a clear, powerful frequency, and others naturally tune into it. Before we move on, I invite you to do something powerful. Write in the comments, "Today, I choose to believe in myself without excuses." This isn't just a phrase, it's your first declaration of inner commitment. By writing it, you plant the seed of a new perception. The way you see yourself begins to evolve. This sentence is the key that unlocks everything that follows. Believing in yourself isn't arrogance or vanity. It's an act of deep honesty with your own potential, acknowledging your value even when no one else does. Many confuse confidence with arrogance, and out of fear of appearing proud, they shrink their own light. But true confidence doesn't shout or demand. It simply breathes in the calmness of your presence. It's the quiet foundation upon which every other part of your life is built. The doubts that live in you today weren't born with you. No child comes into the world believing they are unworthy or incapable. Those beliefs were planted little by little through words, gestures, experiences, and judgments that shaped your perception. Parents, teachers, bosses, friends, society itself all left marks in your mind. Some inspired you, others planted fear, guilt, or the feeling of not being enough. Understanding this is liberation, because it means that if those ideas once entered, they can also be removed. When you realize your insecurities are learned, you understand they are not your identity. They're just old files stored in the subconscious. And just like any program, your inner system can be updated. You can decide which files to keep and which to erase. That single realization is already an act of power. You shift from being a victim of your story to becoming the conscious editor of your internal narrative. A practical way to begin is to observe your automatic thoughts. What do you tell yourself when you face a challenge? What phrases arise when you make a mistake? Those phrases are clues to your hidden beliefs. And if you discover that they are old recordings, "I'm not enough," "I don't deserve it," "I can't," don't treat them as truth. Treat them as background noise you can mute and rewrite. Remember this: your thoughts are not commands, they are choices. Each idea that appears in your mind is only a suggestion. You hold the final word. You decide whether to accept it or discard it. Most people react to their thoughts as if they were divine decrees. But when you understand that they're merely proposals, you take your power back. That's the difference between living on autopilot and living consciously. To replace inherited beliefs, you need two things: awareness and repetition. Awareness to detect them, and repetition to install new ones. Imagine your mind as an untended garden. At first, you must pull out the weeds, those limiting thoughts, and then plant new seeds, thoughts of strength and possibility. But planting once is not enough. You must water them daily. This is how a new neural pattern is formed, how authentic confidence is built. In this process, it is essential to ask yourself, whose voice is this that I hear inside my head? Often, when we harshly criticize ourselves, we are only repeating the words of someone from our past. When you recognize this, that voice loses its authority. It is no longer an inner judge. It becomes just an echo, and an echo fades when you stop feeding it with attention. By doing so, you create space for your real voice, the one that believes in you, the one that wants to see you move forward. To believe in yourself, as Carl Jung explained, is ultimately an act of personal responsibility. You cannot control what you were taught, but you can control what you choose to believe from this moment on. Every time you choose a thought of confidence over one of doubt, you take a step toward mental freedom. It is a daily training that transforms your posture, your actions, and your results. That is the first conscious step toward truly believing in yourself. When you look in the mirror each morning, you are not merely observing a physical reflection. You are witnessing the external representation of your thoughts, beliefs, and emotional state. The mirror is a silent reminder of who you have decided to be up to that moment. The way you look at yourself reveals the nature of your relationship with your inner world. If your inner dialogue is full of criticism, you will inevitably see flaws. If your inner dialogue is respectful, you will begin to discover possibilities and resources within your own image. The mirror functions as an emotional thermometer. If you rush past it without truly looking, you might be avoiding something deeper. But if you take a moment to observe yourself consciously, you begin to connect with your true identity. This simple practice demonstrates a powerful principle. The way you perceive yourself in the morning becomes the script you will act out for the rest of the day. A negative inner language creates a closed posture and low energy. A positive inner language awakens openness and confidence. The reflection you see is not static. It is a stage under construction. Each habit, each thought, each decision leaves its mark on that face and that posture. This is why training your mind to speak with respect and firmness has an immediate effect on your body. When you say, "I am capable," your muscles relax, your shoulders straighten, and your expression brightens. It isn't magic, it's biology. The brain responds to words as if they were instructions, and the body executes the program. Now imagine this. Every morning, the mirror is your stage, and you are both the actor and the director. What script do you wish to rehearse before stepping into the world? If you repeat the lines of self-criticism, you will end up playing the role of insecurity. But if you rehearse lines of strength, you will walk out embodying your best self. This metaphor helps you understand that you are not condemned to see yourself the same way forever. You can rewrite the script before every daily performance. Testing this is simple yet powerful. Look at yourself, smile, and speak an empowering affirmation aloud. At first, it might feel strange or unnecessary, but repetition turns it into an emotional anchor. Each time you declare something positive before the mirror, you reinforce neural connections linked to confidence and self-esteem. Over time, your mind begins to believe what your mouth says, and your body reflects it through gestures, tone, and attitude. This habit, though it may seem small, is one of the most effective tools in personal mastery. It is not about vanity or superficiality. It is about inner alignment. When your words, posture, and image are in harmony, you send a clear message to the world. I respect myself. I prepare myself. I am ready. That alignment opens doors that inconsistency closes, because people naturally trust those who appear centered and confident. The mirror also offers immediate feedback. If one day you look and notice exhaustion, apathy, or disconnection, instead of ignoring it, ask yourself, what thought am I feeding that makes me feel this way? That question brings you back to your power. You don't have to punish yourself for looking different. You only need to adjust your inner dialogue and your outer habits to reclaim your energy. It's a daily exercise of self-leadership that transforms your perception and therefore your results. Every time you look in the mirror, remember this. You're not just seeing your appearance. You're witnessing your identity under construction. You can choose to be your harshest critic or your most loyal coach. If you choose the latter, every glance becomes a moment of mental reprogramming. Those seconds, accumulated day after day, shape not only how you look, but how you feel and how you move through the world. That is the true power of the mirror, as a metaphor for identity. Confidence isn't a gift that arrives when everything is in order. It's a direct consequence of acting even when you don't feel ready. Waiting to feel prepared is a mental trap. In reality, it's action that creates readiness. Each small step proves to yourself that you are capable. It's like starting a cold engine. At first, it resists, but once it's running, the motion becomes natural. Every time you delay, you feed doubt. Procrastination is fertilizer for fear and insecurity. Your mind begins to associate your goal with discomfort and threat, making each new attempt harder to begin. But every time you decide to act, even when nothing feels certain, you strengthen your faith in yourself. Action is the natural antidote to emotional and mental paralysis. Most people believe confidence is a prerequisite for action, when in truth, it's the result of it. Like a muscle that grows with use, self-confidence strengthens through practice. So next time you feel afraid, don't wait for fear to vanish. Move with it. You'll discover that fear fades in the same proportion that your activity increases. Imagine your goals as a building. Each small action is a brick you lay in that structure. Maybe today you can only place one brick, but tomorrow you'll lay two. And by the end of the week, you'll have a solid foundation where once there were only blueprints. This vision helps you understand that no action is insignificant if it aligns with your purpose. Small steps, when added together, become something great. Write down 3 small actions you can take today to move closer to your goal. They don't need to be spectacular or complex. It could be making a call, reading a chapter, sending an email, or practicing a skill for 15 minutes. What matters is that you do them. Each completed task is a vote in favor of your identity as a proactive, confident person. The contrast is clear. When you stay still waiting for motivation to arrive, life grows heavier and problems expand. But when you move, even without desire, energy shifts. Action generates clarity, and clarity opens new opportunities. This isn't theory. Carl Jung saw it in countless people around the world. The difference between those who move forward and those who stay behind isn't talent. It's the habit of action. Acting, even in small ways, takes you out of victim mode and places you in creator mode. Paralysis says, I can't. Action says, I'm on my way. That difference in inner dialogue changes your posture, your tone, and how others perceive you. People trust those who move, not those who wait. Always remember this. Confidence is built through doing. If today you take one step, even a small one, tomorrow your faith in yourself will be stronger. And every step you take is a silent message to your mind. I can. I choose. I move forward. That's how you turn doubt into strength and insecurity into momentum. That is the essence of breaking paralysis and becoming someone who acts with determination. When you observe great athletes, you'll notice that they don't just train their bodies in the gym, they also train their minds every single day. Before competing, they close their eyes and see themselves winning, crossing the finish line, executing the perfect move. This practice is not an empty ritual. It's a proven mechanism to program their nervous system and strengthen their confidence. You can do the same with your personal and professional goals. Visualization is not daydreaming. It's a mental rehearsal of success that prepares you to execute it in reality. The mind does not clearly distinguish between an intensely imagined experience and a real one. When you repeat a powerful image, your brain creates the same neural connections as if you were already living it. That's why 5 minutes of focused visualization each day can have a deeper impact than hours of scattered thinking. Every visualization session is like invisible training that strengthens your self-confidence and sense of direction. When you close your eyes to practice, don't just see the scene. Feel it. Notice in detail how you look, how you breathe, what sensations move through your body. Listen to the sounds, smell the air, feel the texture of the moment. The richer the sensory experience you build in your mind, the stronger the map you imprint in your subconscious. It's like giving your mind an emotional GPS that guides you even in moments of doubt. By repeating this image, you create a mental map. That map becomes an anchor that guides you when things don't go as planned. Instead of getting lost in confusion, your mind remembers the direction and regains its course. It's like a pilot who knows his route even through turbulence. That clarity brings calm and confidence, two fundamental ingredients for effective action. The contrast is obvious. A person without visualization is like a ship without a compass, drifting and easily carried away by the current. But someone who practices daily visualization moves with purpose. Even when obstacles appear, their focus doesn't waver. That's the difference between those who merely try and those who achieve their goals with determination. 5 minutes of visualization a day is more than enough to begin. You don't need complex rituals or hours of meditation. What matters is consistency and the quality of the image you create. If every day you see yourself achieving your goal, your subconscious will begin to recognize and attract the opportunities that bring you closer to that vision. What once went unnoticed will now stand out before you. You can also complement visualization with present tense affirmations. For example, while imagining your goal accomplished, repeat phrases like, I am capable, I succeed, my mind is focused. These words are the verbal fuel of the mental image. Together, they form a powerful combination that reprograms your identity and propels you to act in alignment with that new version of yourself. Remember, training your mind is just as vital as training your body. Just as a muscle needs repetition to grow stronger, your self-confidence needs daily practice to expand. Each time you visualize your success, you remove layers of doubt and build layers of certainty. That is the essence of mental training, preparing your mind to win before stepping onto the playing field of life. One of the greatest obstacles to believing in yourself is the habit of living behind masks. When you constantly strive to please, fit in, or appear as someone you're not, you send a silent message to your subconscious. My true self isn't enough. That message is devastating to your self-esteem. Every time you act against what you truly feel or think out of fear of rejection, you weaken your inner confidence, even if it seems easier in the moment. The problem with masks is that in the short term, they might bring acceptance, but in the long term, they create emptiness. It's like wearing a costume to earn temporary applause, only to be left with the hollow feeling of not being truly seen. Masks drain your emotional energy and force you to maintain a role that doesn't belong to you. That inner tension is one of the most common causes of anxiety and low self-worth. Choosing authenticity is an act of courage. It doesn't mean being rebellious or confrontational. It means acting in harmony with your values and needs. Every time you express an honest opinion, every time you say no to something that doesn't align with you, you reaffirm to your mind that your voice matters. That daily coherence builds an internal core of strength that no longer depends on external approval. Think of authenticity as a muscle. If you never exercise it, it weakens. But if each day you choose one small area to show your true self, that muscle grows stronger. It can be as simple as dressing the way you truly like, changing how you present yourself, or sharing your own thoughts in a meeting. Each small act of authenticity is a micro-training for your self-confidence. When you start living authentically, you'll feel a profound shift in your energy. You no longer waste emotional resources maintaining a persona. That liberation gives you new strength to pursue your goals. People may or may not approve, but you'll know you're aligned with yourself. That internal alignment is one of the strongest accelerators of genuine self-confidence. The contrast is clear. Masks promise quick acceptance, but steal your essence. Authenticity may bring initial discomfort, but it returns your personal power. In the realm of self-esteem, there are no shortcuts. You either pay the price of a false self or invest in building a true one. And the investment in your authenticity always pays the highest dividends. Moreover, when you are authentic, you inspire trust in others. People sense coherence. They know, even without words, who acts from truth and who acts from disguise. Being authentic not only makes you feel better about yourself, it also attracts healthier relationships, more aligned opportunities, and an environment where you can grow without exhausting yourself pretending. Remember, authenticity is not achieved overnight. It's trained. Each time you choose to be faithful to yourself, you tell your mind, I am worthy as I am. That repeated and lived message becomes the foundation of unshakable self-belief. When you remove the masks and show up as you truly are, your self-confidence doesn't just improve, it expands, because at last, you're building your life on solid ground, not fragile facades. Just as no one questions the importance of good nutrition to keep the body healthy, few stop to realize that the mind also needs nourishment. Every piece of news you consume, every conversation you engage in, and every image you absorb from social media are forms of mental food. If you feed on emotional garbage every day, your mind weakens and your confidence deteriorates. Carl Jung taught that the first key to self-trust is to become aware of what you allow to enter your inner world. Imagine your mind as a garden. If you constantly throw waste, weeds, and harmful chemicals into it, that garden cannot bloom. But if you water it with clean water, sunlight, and nutrients, flowers will inevitably grow. It's the same with your thoughts and beliefs. You cannot expect to harvest optimism, clarity, and confidence if you keep planting fear, complaint, and hopelessness in your mental soil every day. So here's a powerful challenge: 30 days of positive mental diet. During this time, you'll become a conscious guardian of what enters your mind. You'll carefully choose what you read, what you watch, who you speak to, and what you give your attention to. This isn't about living in a bubble or denying reality. It's about strengthening your mind so it can face reality from a place of inner power, not weakness. Through this process, you'll start noticing how many sources of mental pollution you had normalized: news that constantly promotes fear, social media filled with drama, or friends who complain endlessly. By becoming aware of that consumption, you'll realize you have the power to choose. And that daily choice is an act of self-respect. You're silently saying, "My peace of mind is worth more than this dose of negativity." As you replace toxic content with inspiring information and uplifting people, you'll begin to notice subtle yet profound changes. Your inner dialogue will soften, your energy will stabilize, and your vision of the future will grow brighter. You'll no longer be swept away by the collective current of complaint. Instead, you'll be the one setting the tone of your day. That sense of control becomes one of the strongest foundations of self-confidence. Jung would remind us that a positive mental diet isn't about superficial motivation. It's psychological hygiene. Just as you wouldn't let rotten food enter your body, you shouldn't allow toxic ideas to enter your mind unchecked. By training yourself in this practice, you're developing mental strength, the kind that keeps you firm even when life's circumstances turn against you. The contrast is clear. If you constantly feed on fear-based news, your vision of the world shrinks. But if you nurture your mind with ideas and examples that inspire, your perception expands. One paralyzes you, the other mobilizes you. One drains your energy, the other recharges it. Each day you practice this mental discipline, you reinforce the inner message that you deserve to think and feel expansively, that you have the right to protect your peace. After 30 days of conscious mental nourishment, you'll notice that believing in yourself will no longer be a conscious effort. It will become your natural state. Because when you stop intoxicating your mind, your true inner strength rises with greater power than ever before. Believing in yourself isn't a single moment. It's a daily choice. It's waking up and deciding, "Today, I'll be my ally, not my enemy." That repeated decision shapes a powerful identity that no one can take away from you. Don't wait for everything to be perfect before you begin. Start now, with what you have, where you are. Every directed thought is a brick in the foundation of your new life. Every small action declares that you take yourself seriously. Remember, your external life mirrors your inner world. If you feed your mind with faith, hope, and discipline, those same elements will appear in your reality. It isn't magic, it's cause and effect. What you plant inside multiplies outside. So today, take that first step. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and say out loud, "I believe in myself, and I act accordingly." Write it in the comments to make it real. Do it for yourself. Do it to begin training your mind today. What do you think has held you back the most so far? your real limitations, or your limiting thoughts. Most people live their entire lives without realizing that their greatest enemy isn't out there. It lives inside their own mind. And here's the truth: no one ever tells you. You are not a victim of your negative thoughts. You are their accomplice. Every single day that you allow negativity to control your mind, you are consciously choosing a mediocre life instead of the extraordinary one you could have. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how to train your mind to think positively, not as some cheap self-help trick, but as the most powerful strategy that transformed my life and the lives of millions around the world. Let me ask you something crucial. How many times today have you spoken to yourself negatively? How many times have you thought, "I can't, it's too hard, I'm not enough," or "nothing ever works for me"? If your answer is more than once, then right now you are programming your mind for failure. And here's what's fascinating. Your subconscious mind cannot distinguish between what is real and what you tell it is real. So if you keep feeding it with negativity, it will create a negative reality. But if you learn to master your thoughts, you can literally redesign your entire life. Stay with me, because in the next few minutes, I'm going to share with you the exact inner system I've used for more than 40 years to keep my mind focused on the positive, even during the darkest moments. Let me take you back in time. Many years ago, I was a completely different man than the one you see today. I worked low-paying jobs. Some nights, I slept in my car, washing dishes in the back of a small hotel. I had no formal education beyond high school, no connections, no money, and worst of all, no hope. My mind was a battlefield of constant self-criticism. "You're a failure," said the voice inside me. "You'll never get out of this. You're not smart enough. Look at everyone else. They succeed, but you don't." Then one day, sitting in a small room staring out the window, I had a revelation that literally saved my life. I realized something profound. I was not my thoughts. My thoughts were simply mental habits I had developed over the years. And like any habit, they could be changed. In that moment, I understood that if I wanted to change my outer world, I first had to change my inner world. And that began by forcing myself, yes, forcing myself to think positively. Now I want you to understand something essential. When I speak of forcing yourself to think positively, I'm not talking about ignoring reality or pretending to be happy while everything collapses around you. I'm not talking about empty affirmations in front of a mirror while your life falls apart. That's what critics of positive thinking never grasp. True positive thinking isn't denial, it's direction. It's the conscious act of taking control of your inner dialogue and redirecting it toward possibilities, solutions, and opportunities instead of problems, complaints, and limitations. Let me explain how this works on a psychological level. Because once you understand the science of thought, everything changes. Your brain has something called the reticular activating system, the RAS. This system acts as a filter that decides what information from the outer world reaches your awareness and what gets ignored. Every second, your brain is bombarded with millions of bits of data, yet your RAS only allows in what it considers important, based on your dominant beliefs and recurring thoughts. Here's the key. Your RAS is constantly searching for evidence to confirm what you already believe. If you believe life is hard and opportunities are rare, your RAS will show you every obstacle, every rejection, every reason you can't succeed. But if you change your dominant thoughts and start looking for possibilities, solutions, and opportunities, your RAS automatically begins to reveal them. It's as if you suddenly see a completely different world, even though the world hasn't changed at all. The only thing that changed was your focus. So how do you force yourself to think positively when your entire life has been wired for negativity? The answer lies in what I call the 4 laws of deliberate positive thinking. The first law is the law of substitution. Your conscious mind can only hold one thought at a time. You cannot think of 2 things simultaneously on a conscious level. That means you can deliberately replace a negative thought with a positive one at any moment. Every time you catch yourself thinking something negative, immediately, without delay, without excuses, replace it with its positive opposite. If you think, "I can't do this," replace it with, "I can learn to do this." If you think, "This will go wrong," replace it with, "I'll find a way to make this work." Have you ever considered this? Most people let their negative thoughts run wild like untamed horses. They never stop to realize that they have the power to choose. But from now on, you will exercise that power. Every negative thought that enters your mind will be replaced immediately. At first, this requires conscious effort, I admit, but after a few weeks of consistent practice, it becomes automatic. Your mind begins to reject negative thoughts on its own, like a mental immune system. The second law is the law of positive visualization. Your subconscious mind thinks in images. When you think in words, your subconscious instantly converts them into mental pictures. And here's what's crucial. Your nervous system cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. This means that when you visualize something with deep emotion, your brain literally begins to create neural pathways as if it had already happened. Carl Jung taught that imagination is not fantasy. It is the bridge between the conscious and the unconscious mind, the inner workshop where reality begins to take form. I have seen countless individuals, leaders, creators, dreamers, use this truth to transform their lives. They dedicate time each day to visualize their goals as if they were already achieved. They see themselves succeeding, feeling the emotions of accomplishment, living the reality they once desired. So when the moment to act arrives, their mind no longer hesitates, because it has already walked that path many times in imagination. I practice this every morning without fail. Before getting out of bed, I spend 5 to 10 minutes visualizing my perfect day. I see myself confident, energized, productive. I see myself completing my most important tasks with calm precision. I see myself interacting positively with others. And when I open my eyes, it feels as if my mind already knows exactly what to do, because we have rehearsed it together. Imagine how your life would change if you applied this every morning. Instead of waking up and letting your mind wander through worry and anxiety, you immediately take control and direct your thoughts toward the person you want to become and the life you want to live. This simple act, done consistently, has the power to reshape your entire reality. The next principle Jung emphasized is the power of directed affirmation. Many people say, affirmations don't work. I've repeated positive phrases and nothing changed. And they're right. Mere words do nothing. But when affirmations are combined with intense emotion, constant repetition, and congruent action, they become one of the most powerful tools to reprogram the subconscious mind. The secret lies in how you formulate them. An effective affirmation must be present tense, positive, personal, and emotionally charged. Instead of saying, "I want to be successful," say, I am successful, and every day my success expands. Instead of, I hope to be financially free, say, I am financially free and abundance flows toward me from many sources. Do you see the difference? The present tense tells your subconscious that this is already your reality. But here's the hidden truth Jung would insist upon. The subconscious only accepts what is felt deeply. When you repeat your affirmations, you must feel them in every cell of your body. You must generate the emotional state of someone who has already achieved what they affirm. Without emotion, words are only empty echoes in your mind. I have a list of 10 affirmations that I repeat every morning and every night, aloud, with conviction, with energy, with complete certainty that they are true. After years of doing this, those affirmations became my reality. Not because they are magical, but because they transformed my beliefs, and my beliefs transformed my actions, and my actions transformed my life. Try it this week. Write down 3 powerful affirmations about the areas of your life you want to improve: your health, your finances, your relationships, your purpose. Write them in the present tense, as if they were already real. Then, without fail, repeat them every morning and every night for the next 30 days. You will witness changes that will astonish you. Jung also spoke of the law of mental nourishment. Let me ask you something. If every day you ate junk food, sugar, and processed fat, would you expect a healthy, energetic body? Of course not. We all understand that we are what we eat physically, yet few realize that we are also what we consume mentally. Your mind is constantly being fed by the world around you. Every conversation, every show, every song, every book, every post is depositing something into your subconscious. And if most of what you consume is negative, violent, pessimistic, or filled with drama, your mind is being slowly poisoned. Years ago, I made a radical decision. I stopped watching the news, stopped spending time with negative people, stopped consuming entertainment that left me feeling worse. Instead, I began to feed my mind with positive, educational, and inspiring material, books on personal growth, stories of people who overcame adversity, teachings about consciousness and inner mastery. That single decision changed my destiny. My mind became a fertile garden where only constructive and luminous thoughts could grow. And when your mind is clean and focused, you make better choices, see opportunities where others see obstacles, and attract people and circumstances that align with your higher vibration. So ask yourself, what would happen if you started today to be extremely selective with what you allow into your mind? What if for the next 30 days, you only consumed content that made you wiser, stronger, more peaceful, more aware? I assure you, in a month, you would be an entirely different person. Jung understood that positive thinking is not about ignoring darkness. It's about consciously choosing light. It's not a tool for comfort. It's the foundation of every significant transformation in life. Every great human achievement began with someone who dared to think beyond the limits of fear and doubt. The Wright brothers dreamed of flight when everyone said it was impossible. Edison pursued the idea of light after 10,000 failed attempts. Martin Luther King envisioned equality when the entire system stood against him. Nelson Mandela held on to freedom during 27 years of captivity. These were not naive dreamers. They were conscious creators who refused to let external conditions dominate their inner world. And you carry that same power within you. No matter how broken your present reality may seem, No matter how many defeats you have endured or how distant your dreams feel, right now you have the ability to make a decision that can transform everything. The decision to direct your mind toward light instead of darkness. Carl Jung said that the mind is both the prison and the key, and that the moment we choose to observe our thoughts consciously, we begin to shape a new destiny. Let me tell you a story. There was once a man, I'll call him Roberto. When he attended one of my sessions, he was bankrupt, heartbroken after a painful divorce, and had just lost the business he built for 15 years. He sat in the front row with empty eyes and a slouched posture, his spirit clearly broken. During the break, he approached me and said, "I used to be a positive person, but after everything I've been through, I just can't pretend anymore. Life hit me too hard." I looked at him and replied, "You're right. You can't pretend, but you can choose again. You can rebuild your mind, one thought at a time." I told him not to fake happiness, but to reclaim the only thing still under his control, his mental response. I gave him a simple exercise. Every night before sleeping, he had to write down 3 good things that happened that day, no matter how small. And every morning, he had to write 3 things he was grateful for. Just 6 lines a day. 3 months later, he wrote me an email. The first 2 weeks were hell. His mind resisted, rebelled, mocked the process, called it stupid. But he persisted. Slowly, his perception began to shift. He started noticing small opportunities that had always been there. He met people who offered help. Ideas for a new business emerged. His energy returned. His confidence rebuilt itself. Today, 5 years later, Roberto has a more successful business than before, is happily remarried, and tells me that crisis was the best gift life ever gave him, because it forced him to rebuild himself from the inside out. And it all began with the simple act of consciously choosing one positive thought at a time. But there's something deeper you must understand about positive thinking. It's not about pretending everything is fine when it isn't. Anyone can be positive when life flows smoothly, when the bank account is full, when health is good, when relationships are easy. The true strength of the mind is revealed when everything collapses, when odds are against you, when every outer voice screams, "Give up." In those dark moments, you must demand from yourself to find meaning, to look for the hidden lesson, to discover the seed of opportunity buried inside the pain. Because there is always an opportunity, always. But it only reveals itself to those whose inner vision has been trained to see beyond appearances. And that inner vision is trained through deliberate, consistent, conscious thought. Write this down and keep it close. Within every crisis lies a blessing equal or greater than the challenge itself. This is one of the universal laws Jung spoke about, the law of polarity. But it only activates when you awaken your mind to search for it. If you panic, if you surrender to despair, if you let your thoughts spiral into fear, you'll never see it. But if you hold your mind steady, focused, open to solutions, doors will appear where before there were only walls. Over the years, I've called this the compound effect of positive thought. It works exactly like compound interest in finance. One single positive thought may seem insignificant. 2 may seem irrelevant. But when you repeat thousands of positive thoughts, day after day, week after week, month after month, something extraordinary happens. Your entire personality begins to transform. You become magnetic. People are drawn to you because you emit a different frequency. Opportunities begin to unfold in ways that seem magical. But it isn't magic, it's consciousness expanding. Your health improves because your stress diminishes. Your relationships deepen because you communicate from abundance instead of fear. Your financial situation rises because your mind, now attuned to possibility, begins to make wiser, higher-level decisions. This is the real secret shared by the most successful minds. Not luck, not connections, not talent, but the ability to hold their consciousness aligned with creation instead of destruction. Carl Jung once said that the world will ask you who you are, and if you don't know, it will tell you. The greatest individuals of history, from leaders to visionaries, all mastered one inner art, the discipline of directing their thoughts toward what builds, not what breaks. The human mind is the ultimate alchemist. It can turn any suffering into wisdom, any loss into rebirth, any shadow into light. And that, more than anything else, is the power you already hold. The power to rebuild your world from the inside out, one conscious positive thought at a time. These are not extraordinary people. They are individuals who applied the same principles I'm sharing with you right now. And you can do exactly the same. You don't need special circumstances. You don't need an exceptional IQ. You don't need powerful connections. All you need is the will to take control of your mind and force it to work for you instead of against you. Now let me give you a clear plan of action that you can start implementing today. This is what Carl Jung called the 30-day mental transformation program. If you follow it with absolute discipline over the next 30 days, your life will become almost unrecognizable by the end of that period. Step 1. Every morning, right after waking up, before checking your phone, before speaking to anyone, before thinking about your problems, spend 10 minutes doing the following. 5 minutes of positive visualization, where you see yourself achieving your most meaningful goals. 3 minutes repeating your affirmations with deep emotion. 2 minutes writing down 3 things you are grateful for in this moment. Step 2. During the day, every time you catch yourself having a negative thought, stop immediately and use what Jung described as the law of substitution. It doesn't matter how many times you need to do it. If it's 100 times, then do it 100 times. This is mental training. And like any training, it's hard at first, but over time, it becomes natural. Step 3. For the next 30 days, eliminate every unnecessary source of negativity from your life. Turn off the news. Walk away from toxic conversations. If someone wants to complain to you, politely change the topic or remove yourself. This is not coldness. It's protection of your most valuable asset, your mental state. Step 4. Every night before going to bed, spend 5 minutes reviewing your day and finding what was good about it. Even if it was a terrible day, find at least 3 positive things that happened or 3 lessons you learned. Your subconscious mind is most receptive in those moments right before sleep, so the last thing it should receive is positive thoughts. Step 5. Read at least 20 pages of a positive, educational, or inspiring book every day. That's about 30 minutes of reading. Do this for 30 days, and you'll have finished a full book that will reshape your perspective. Do it for a year, and you'll have read 12 books, and you'll find yourself in the top 1% of your field. Step 6. Surround yourself with positive people. Actively seek individuals who are growing, who have goals, who are optimistic about the future. Their energy is contagious and will lift you up. As the old proverb says, "Show me your friends, and I'll show you your future." This program may seem simple, even too simple. But therein lies its power. It's not the complicated methods that change lives. It's the simple disciplines practiced consistently every single day. The problem is that most people never commit to consistency. They do something for 3 days, see no miraculous results, and quit. But true transformation takes time. It requires patience. It requires faith in the process, even when there's no visible evidence of progress. Think of a bamboo tree. When you plant its seed, you water and care for it every day. The first year, nothing. The second year, nothing. The third, still nothing. The fourth, nothing yet. But in the fifth year, suddenly, the bamboo grows 30 meters in 6 weeks. It didn't grow in 6 weeks. It grew through 5 years of invisible root development underground that finally allowed that explosive growth. Your mental transformation works exactly the same way. In the first days, weeks, or even months, you might not see major external changes, but beneath the surface, in your subconscious, new neural pathways are forming, old limiting beliefs are being erased, and new programs of success are being installed. And then, suddenly, everything changes. Opportunities appear, solutions reveal themselves, doors open, and it will seem like luck. But in truth, it is the inevitable result of your consistent inner work. And there's one more thing Carl Jung wanted you to understand about positive thinking. It isn't selfish. It's an act of service. When you elevate your mental state, you don't just benefit yourself, you uplift everyone around you. Your family thrives because you're more present, patient, and loving. Your colleagues gain because you bring solutions instead of problems. Your community grows because you become an example of what's possible. The world heals because you add light instead of darkness. One of the greatest mistakes people make, Carl Jung explained, is believing that self-work is selfish. Shouldn't I focus on helping others instead of working on myself? They ask. But you cannot give what you don't possess. If your cup is empty, you cannot fill anyone else's. When you fill your own cup with positive thoughts, elevated energy, mental clarity, and purpose, it overflows naturally. Your impact multiplies effortlessly. So when you commit to thinking positively, don't do it just for yourself. Do it for your family, who deserves your best version. Do it for your children, who are silently learning from your example. Do it for the lives you will touch once you become who you are destined to be. But let's be honest, this journey won't always be easy. There will be days when your mind rebels, when negativity seems overwhelming, when you want to give up and return to old patterns. Those days will come, I promise you. But in those dark moments, remember this: comfort is the enemy of growth. If it were easy to maintain a positive mindset, everyone would do it. But most don't. Most people take the path of least resistance, surrender to negativity, and live lives of quiet despair. But you are not most people. The very fact that you're here, listening to this, tells me that you're different. You're someone who seeks more, someone who understands that an extraordinary life requires paying the price of constant awareness over your inner world. Now, before we finish, let's do something together. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine yourself 1 year from now. You've practiced these principles daily, without fail. You've trained your mind to think positively, even through the hardest moments. You've protected your mental state as if your life depended on it, because it does. Now see yourself, how you look, how you feel, what you've achieved, how your relationships have evolved, what your energy feels like, what new opportunities surround you. Can you see that version of yourself? That person exists. That person is your inevitable future if you choose wisely today. Understand this deeply. That future version of you depends entirely on the present you making the right decision now. Every choice you make today is either creating or destroying that future reality. And the most important choice you can make right now is to commit completely to mastering your mind. If you found value in this message, I ask you to do two things. First, subscribe to this channel and activate notifications. I'm committed to creating content that helps you reach your full potential, and I don't want you to miss what's coming. Every week, I share tested principles and tools that can dramatically accelerate your success. Second, and more importantly, take immediate action. Don't let this be just another inspiring message you hear and then forget. Commit right now to your own 30-day mental transformation. Write down the actions you'll take. Schedule them. Tell someone about your decision to create accountability. Because here's the ultimate truth Carl Jung wanted us to remember. Your life won't change just because you listen to this. Your life will change because you acted on what you learned. Knowledge without action is mere entertainment, but knowledge with action becomes transformation. You've reached a turning point. You can continue living as you always have, letting your mind be ruled by external circumstances, reacting to life instead of creating it. Or you can take control, discipline your thoughts, and start designing the extraordinary life you deserve. The choice is yours. No one can make it for you. No one can do the work for you. But I can tell you with absolute certainty that if you make this decision, if you commit fully to mastering your mind, if you discipline yourself to think positively no matter what, your entire life will change in ways you can't yet imagine. Remember this, you are one decision away from completely transforming your life. Decide now. Act today. The extraordinary future you desire is waiting for you, but it won't come looking for you. You must go and claim it. And it all begins with one single positive thought, followed by another, and another, and another, until positive thinking becomes your natural state. I have worked with countless individuals throughout my life. I have witnessed transformations that defy logic. I have seen people rise from despair to abundance, and if they could do it, so can you. I have witnessed people once consumed by illness completely restore their health. I have seen marriages on the verge of collapse transform into deep, passionate unions. I have seen those lost in despair rise to become luminous guides for others. And every one of these transformations began in the same sacred place, within the decision to take control of their inner world. Carl Jung taught that transformation begins not by changing what surrounds you, but by confronting what lives within you. You hold power now, not tomorrow. Not when life feels easier, not when you have more time or more resources. Right now, in this very breath, the power to alter your existence lies within your mind. And all you must do is consciously exercise that power, day after day, thought after thought. When you wake up tomorrow morning, before your mind begins its habitual wandering toward worry and fear, seize control. Begin your day with gratitude. Begin with awareness, with visualization, with thoughts that empower your being. Watch how those first 10 minutes determine the vibration of the next 24 hours. And when challenges appear, as they always do, remember this. Your reaction is the only part that truly matters. You cannot control the outer world, but you can master your perception of it. Within that mastery lies the ultimate freedom Jung spoke of. the freedom to choose the meaning of your experience. True freedom is not the possession of all things. It is the serenity of the soul, regardless of circumstance. It is the ability to remain calm, creative, and luminous, even when the outer world trembles. That is the liberation born from inner alignment, the art of living from the inside out, rather than being enslaved by what happens outside of you. I want to share one final story. Years ago, I met a 72-year-old man after one of my talks. With tears in his eyes, he said, "I have spent my whole life worrying about things that never happened, doubting myself, and living in fear. It's too late for me." I took his hands and said, "It is never too late. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. You may have 20, 30, or even 40 years ahead. Will you live them the same way, or will you choose differently?" That man made a choice. He began to practice these principles daily, not with blind faith, but with devotion. 2 years later, he wrote to me. He had launched the business he once feared to start, reconciled with his children after decades of silence, and felt more alive than ever before. He ended his letter saying, "I only regret not learning this 50 years earlier, but I am deeply grateful to have learned it now." It does not matter how old you are, how long you've been trapped in negative thought patterns, or how many times you've failed to change. This very moment offers you the doorway to begin again, to cleanse the canvas of your mind and design your life anew. Know this: I believe in you. I believe in your capacity for transformation. Everything you need already lives within you. You do not need more talent, luck, or perfect conditions. You only need the decision to direct your thoughts consciously and to hold that decision no matter what arises. The universe mirrors the quality of your dominant thoughts. When you shift your thinking, you shift your vibration. When you shift your vibration, you alter what life sends your way. And when you alter what you attract, your entire existence transforms. It is a simple yet sacred process, and it works unfailingly for those who apply it with discipline and consistency. So here is my final challenge for you. For the next 7 days, devote your mind completely to positive thought. Just 7 days, 1 week of conscious awareness, and you will begin to witness the extraordinary truth that Carl Jung tried to teach humanity, that when the inner world changes, the outer world has no choice but to follow. Do not allow a single negative thought to remain unchallenged. Replace it instantly. Nourish your mind only with what uplifts it. Speak words that build rather than destroy. Envision outcomes that lead to success. And at the end of those 7 days, observe how you feel. Notice what has shifted within you and around you. Carl Jung would say that what you will witness is not luck, but the manifestation of your inner transformation. You will see results powerful enough to inspire you to continue. And when you complete those first 7 days, go for another 7 and then another. Soon, 30 days will have passed, then 90, then an entire year. And when you look back, you won't believe the person you've become or the reality you've created. This is your moment. This is your chance. Don't let it fade. Don't postpone your greatness. Do not wait for the perfect moment, because the perfect moment is now. Take action. Take command of your mind. Discipline your thoughts toward the positive, and prepare yourself for a transformation that will surpass your wildest expectations. Thank you for being here. Thank you for investing your time in personal growth. And thank you for having the courage to seek a higher version of yourself. That courage reveals the depth of your character and the vastness of your potential. I'll see you in the next video, where we will continue this journey of transformation together. Meanwhile, remember this profound truth from Carl Jung. Your outer world is always a reflection of your inner world. Change what is within, and the world outside will have no choice but to change as well. Now go, take action, live with intention, think with purpose, and create the extraordinary life that has been waiting for you since the day you were born. Remember, you are always one decision away from completely transforming your life. Decide now. Act today. Your best life is already waiting for you.